Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Parent Chats on nslive.tv. I'm really excited about this show because it's going to be a really fun topic, travel. I've had some great times with my family traveling, and we have memories that go back many years of trips that we were on. So today we have an expert for you, Myranda Miller, who is the branch manager of Maritime Travel in Halifax Shopping Centre, who is with us today. Hello, Myranda, and thank you for doing this show.
Thanks for having me, Ken.
Myranda is going to be talking to us about travel and travel tips for parents. As you know, Myranda, we always try to help on this show. We try to help parents with different travel or different ideas of things that they may face, travel being one of them, and what's the best way to make arrangements for kids or traveling with kids. So my first question for you is, what are some important things to remember when booking trips with children?
That's a great question, and certainly booking with children can be a little scary and overwhelming, and a little confusing when it comes to all of the options. If you're looking for something down south, some of the suppliers throughout the year will offer promotions where kids stay and eat free. That's certainly something that we like to keep our eye on. So they would go and just have to pay for the airfare portion. That's probably one of the best deals you can get when traveling with children. That's the most popular offer that we have. It's not, though, with every property and every supplier that's offering that. There are blackout dates, but we're familiar, though, with which properties and tour operators offer them, and we keep an eye on them for you. For example, Sunwing has Smile Resorts, and Air Canada Vacations has something called the Play Program. So what that does is those resorts will cater specifically to families and offer discounts, dedicated room locations, few perks on board, priority boarding. You know, it makes the family and the parents, it makes it a little easier for them to travel with the children. But I will say one thing, those discounts a lot of the time are only from ages 2 to 12. So you'll see a lot of the time the break in the price is 12. But there are a handful of resorts that will offer reduced rates for children up to 18. Not a lot of hoteliers or suppliers are doing it. I know Palace Resorts does offer it, but then in turn, the adult rate goes up quite a bit. So the parents end up paying a higher premium to stay at a property like that. Another thing to keep your eye on is we're seeing more and more resorts offering different room types. Years ago, there were few options for 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms in the Caribbean. We're seeing more requests for these types of rooms, along with guaranteed and connecting rooms. You know, families are growing and they're going down in groups now. Swim out rooms at family properties are becoming more popular and popping up as well. It's especially nice if the children are still napping. I had this conversation with a lot of parents where I don't want to be tied to the room. I want to have a little bit of freedom. Swim out rooms now will allow children in them. There's safety features in effect. And it's nice because then the parents can enjoy the patio, get out and go for a swim if the little ones are still napping. It's really handy to have. But we didn't have that a long time ago. So there are a few more being offered now. When choosing a resort, the younger children and the babies are always happy. As we all know, if we've traveled with them, they want a bucket, a beach, a pool. A lot more people are coming to us now looking for recommendations of traveling with children just a little bit older than that. So 8 to 16-ish. They want a property that's going to make them happy as well and cater to them. There is, in this case, there's things that are popping up now that we haven't seen before, like tweens and teen clubs and things like that. That gives, a little bit more flexibility for the parents, for example, not just the kids. They can go and have their activities as well. In this case, those are offered typically at a bigger property with a lot more amenities, services, pools. So throughout the day, we're keeping those kids happy as well. But in the night, they can go to these teens and tween clubs, and then that gives the opportunity for the parents to maybe go enjoy an adults-only dinner and sort of have a vacation as well as the kids. I would suggest too, one other thing, because I'm talking a lot about the Caribbean and South, but there are city stays too, for example. if you're going, and the only tips that I would probably have with that, when you're planning something like New York or London or a bigger trip, maybe international with kids, I would suggest getting them involved in the planning. I just returned with my little guy from Toronto, and I let him pick out a fun activity. He picked out the Hockey Hall of Fame, and I wanted to see a ball game. So we compromised, and everybody, he had an activity to look forward to, and it kept him happy, and I was happy. But if they're not too young, it's fun too to give the kids the opportunity to take pictures in cities. I let Simon take a few pictures. He was so proud. He wants to show everybody. But I mean, it just gives them a little bit more responsibility as well, and something to do. And the goal is just, you don't ever want to hear them say I'm bored. So remember too, to just take, if you're doing a city break like that with kids, take lots of breaks, get outside, more fresh air for them. They sleep better at night, obviously, but more activities outside, not all indoor activities like museums and things. That can be a little rough on the kids.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. I like the diversity that you had of the city trips and the more local trips and the abroad trips. And yeah, some really good ideas of helping your kids to get outside wherever they are, if you're traveling with them and what have you. The next is, do you have travel tips for parents with children, especially if the kids have not traveled a lot in the past?
Yeah, there's a lot going on. There's a lot that's offered. As I said, it can be a challenge. It's best to be prepared. One of the first things I say to parents is, arrive early. Like if you think you need 3 hours, maybe plan for 4. Just give yourself a little bit of extra time. Final documentation too, when we send it to clients, that comes with a lot of suggestions and recommendations. Little things you may not think of. For example, downloading the airline apps on the iPads and the tablets in advance. Wi-Fi is not always good at the airport, and it's last minute and you forget to do that. That can be a little tricky because some suppliers, or some of the airlines, for example, don't have the TVs built into the seats. So you need to rely on those devices if you want to watch a movie to take up some of the time. Some of the suppliers too, like Transat, has something called the Kids Zone. I love this. You can, once you're booked, if you can register your booking on transat.com. Any children under the age of 12 will be sent sort of a welcome on board letter and a little certificate to use to buy a snack on board. It's a really great idea. So we suggest doing that, and that gives the children they get excited about the trip because they're receiving mail first and then things on board. Another thing, watching a movie, as I said, a window seat is also a good distraction. Air Canada and WestJet specifically, when traveling with small children, and a lot of people don't know this as well, will give you free seat selection in advance. Obviously, they can't legally separate you, and they don't want to legally separate you. So in advance, they will do that. They tend to place you at the back of the aircraft, which is fine. That's where all the other families are, and but it's a good service that they have. So you should ask for it. We always usually offer it and say, we can get this for you for free. Be sure to take lots of snacks. You need to have those on hand. You can easily take those through security. Or if you don't have a lot of snacks on hand, it's fun for the kids to order something off the little bistro menu on board. It's fun for them to pick it out and then wait for the flight attendant to come around. And that's something to give them to look forward to. I find it helps to stretch a little bit. Kids can get a little antsy on board. So we definitely stretch a little bit in our seat. Little babies, though, they tend to sleep, which is really helpful. For the little tiny babies, I know when my little guy was young, I would take a different toy for each flight. So it would distract him. It would keep him engaged in the toy. As well as when they're really tiny and you're doing a longer flight, I always recommend booking the seat in advance in the front, the bulkhead. You will have to pay a premium for it, but there's a bassinet. So you can actually pay for a bassinet seat to place the child and free up your hands. You might want to do that when you have really small babies. There's a weight restriction on that, but it's certainly handy. And once you're on the property, there's so much to do and everyone's happy. There's a lot of excursions and destinations. I do recommend booking some of the more popular excursions in advance. Not all of them, but for example, in Cuba, Havana tour can sell out. Negril, the catamaran tour around Rick's Cafe there. And when it comes to restaurants, many of them here now have you scan the QR code, but they don't have the kids menu sometimes on those menus. So you should always ask when you're at an all-inclusive if they have a kids menu, because then the kids can entertain and pick out what they want to eat as well. Other than that, no, I think that's good. The animation team. There's always a schedule of the animation team and what they're going to be doing for the week. I always like to go over there and check it out. Let the kids maybe pick out an activity or show that they would look forward to, and fill some of the days with. That's always a good thing to do.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. How about lessons learned? Things, stories you may have heard of, or anything about that you can share that would be helpful for parents to avoid, or best practices for when parents are traveling?
Yeah, well, I'm fortunate enough that I've traveling quite a bit, and you know what? It is getting easier. The more you travel with the children, I do find that it gets easier. The tips I've mentioned are from most of my personal experience traveling. I would always recommend, though, travel insurance. We offer it for a reason. I've had to use it many times personally. If you don't have it on your credit card or it's not offered by the supplier, you really need to consider it, especially traveling with children. A lot of these packages are non-refundable now. We're back to regular terms and conditions. Children are busy, and anything can happen prior to departure while you're away, and you might actually need to rely on travel insurance in some cases. Also, right before the flight, definitely right before I fly, we'll either hit up a park here, go throw a ball, or if we're down there and we have an afternoon or evening flight, go for a swim, wear the children out a little bit, get the activity in before you get on a flight. I find that coming home can be a long journey for them. And that's it. I mean, just take lots of comfy shoes for the kids, for sure. Lots of sunscreen. Can be really expensive to buy in destination. So yeah, that's probably it.
Perfect. Thank you. Any final message for our audience, or anything you wanted to share?
Definitely, I would recommend booking through a travel agent. It is the more information and content, and it can be, as I said at the beginning, a little overwhelming. There's a lot of information out there. Don't question, like you'll start to question yourself. We are a free service that specializes in this field. And we can help narrow down the search and make sure that we give you the perfect fit and meet your expectations. We definitely qualify you. We ask lots of questions, and we want to make sure that you're guaranteed a happy family vacation. So other than booking, you can do the research online, which is great. It's great to look up pictures and have something to look forward to. But these tour operators, dealing with them and the airlines directly can be really stressful and timely at this time. So I would consider definitely always booking through a travel agent. And I know that we personally offer a 24-hour emergency line, which is just great peace of mind from the beginning right to the end. While you're away, we're here to assist. That's why we're here. So I would definitely consider booking through a travel agent.
I can attest to that. I remember a couple years ago, I booked a trip to Ottawa with my daughter, who was attending university there. And we were going to a hockey game in March of 2020. And it just hours on the phone with service providers. And then we rescheduled for the next year for our team. And they ended up being the time that there was unrest in Ottawa again. So more hours on the phone. So the comforts of using a travel agent, I understand them fully.
Yeah.
And so thank you for doing this, and really encourage parents to travel with their kids and to just enjoy experiences. Be an experience collector, because the kids grow up so fast. Mine are in their 20s now, and I know I get to look back on many fond memories of things we've done, sports we've played, and places we've went and traveled, and just some great memories. So really enjoy that. That's why we always try to bring you an expert in different fields for a parent. And parenting's a big job, but it's a wonderful job. And if we can make it a little easier, that's what we want to do here on Parent Chats, exclusively on nslive.tv. And as I always like to say, my hood is parenthood. Thank you.